This video will show you the equipment and the method to set up everything you need for the fractional distillation of liquids. As you can see, all the equipment has been laid out that we need. So let's have a look. You'll need a fractionating column, delivery tube, a thermometer. If you're using flammable liquids, a heating mantle, a round bottom flask or a pear-shaped flask, a beaker to collect your product, the condenser tube, hoses fitted that reach to and from the sink and the tap. You'll need the sidearm and some silicone grease to grease the joints. So here's how we set the equipment up. Put the labels to one side. Okay. The first operation is to put the heating mantle, make that the centre, take your round bottom flask or your pear-shaped flask, whichever is going to be used, and secure it directly above the heating mantle using a clamp. The clamp should completely support the round bottom flask, but position it so that it is in contact with the heater. We work upwards from the flask to put the fractionating column next, using vacuum grease to grease any of the ground glass joints that are in place. Fractionating column goes in the round bottom flask. On top of the fractionating column we'll need the sidearm. Again, the joint's been greased, and then we use the thermometer. The bulb of the thermometer should sit where the vapour is above the fractionating column, so that we know exactly the temperature of the vapour that we're collecting. We'll then position the condenser tube. The condenser tube will need to be supported by a second clamp. The trick is to loosen all the parts of the boss, position the delivery tube, the condenser tube, so that the system is not under tension, and then tighten the components. At the end of the condenser tube we place a delivery tube. The delivery tube will also need to be secured by a separate clamp. Again, we loosen the boss, position the delivery tube where it needs to be held, and then retighten the equipment. Use a stand to position a collecting beaker underneath the delivery tube. Connect the lower part of the condenser tube to the tap, and the upper end of the condenser tube should sit in the sink. Adjust the water flow so that you can see the water is flowing at a nice slow rate. Once the equipment has been set up in this manner, you're ready to place your sample in the bottom of the flask. So we quickly disassemble the top part, lay it down carefully. If you need some anti-bumping granules, place a couple of anti-bumping chips in the bottom of the flask. add the sample that we're going to be separating. Reassemble the distillation apparatus. Ensure that all the joints are as they should be. Everything appears to be vapor tight, and when we're ready we turn on the heating mantle and the distillation can commence. Keep a careful eye on the temperature so that when you get to the temperature that you're expecting to collect your vapor, you can slow the heating if necessary by adjusting the heating mantle. And that's how we set up the equipment for fractional distillation.